AM 590, KXSP Omaha's ESPN Radio. It's time for the Metro's only racing talk show. The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor, Buddy Ray, and Andrew Kosiski.
Good morning, race fans, and thank you for joining us on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.com. 23rd Ave in Council Bluffs. Get all your information online, directions, hours of operation, pricing, everything. joeskarting.com. And we're kind of a weird little thing. We're joined on the phone by Andrew. Andrew, man, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, guys. How about you?
Doing pretty good. Are you getting the itch to get back to racing after everything pretty much got rained out this weekend?
I've been trying. It just keeps week after week raining out or snowing out.
Yeah, I'm about sick and tired of this stuff. Someone needs to start doing a dirt track dance or something.
Dan and I were just talking. If we ever got a weekly show, and that'd be about the equivalent of a racing special.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to become obsolete weekly shows. Well, you're on the phone because unfortunately we've got to. I got some sad news to announce. If you want to kind of talk to us a little bit.
Yeah, I guess time restraints and everything. Being 22 years old, trying to go to school, run a race car, do a radio show, and try to work 40 hours a week. There's been so many people I've talked to, even this past weekend, that have said they love the show, they listen to it. The show's only getting bigger, and I hope I don't somehow kill it by leaving the show here and stepping down, but it's kind of hard to do. And Dave, I think you understand it, Bud, you do too. And you're working 40 hours a week and then working another almost 40 on your cars and then going to school. It's tough to do all three things, and it sucks because I love talking about NASCAR and everything. It's just, I was debating earlier in the season of even redoing the show again, and now it's weird being behind the phone here instead of being in the studio with you guys. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, and we talked about it earlier in the year. You'd said, well, maybe, I might need to kind of take a couple of shows off, and it does get to be a lot. When we originally started the show, it was 1 hour of recording on a Wednesday, and then all of a sudden it kind of morphed into, we got to do live shows for certain Sunday shows, and then there's the slinging dirt, and then there's, we just kind of kept adding on little things that I absolutely agree with you. I was in college at one time too, working 40 hours a week at a Home Depot and trying to get my radio career going, and just those two things stressed me out enough to where I was eating ramen noodles and didn't have time to really focus on anything else. And you're trying to do racing. I
know exactly what you mean. I just went and bought 28 banquet dinners yesterday so I can have them for lunch so I can save some money for my race car and stuff. It's wild. And doing summer school, I know it's just going to be dead. But hopefully when school's out, this show is going to grow and be huge. And I really think it's going to do that. Rich really dedicates a lot to the show, and I really think, and this ain't going to be done after this year. It's going to be big, and hopefully when I'm out of school or something, maybe I could come back if the third guy you got doesn't like to go out and eat Boom Boom Shrimp and get drunk with you guys on Wednesdays and Sundays.
Great. Now I'm thinking of Boom Boom Shrimp.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. Quick steak and lube. I went down there this weekend and had me some. Oh, that's so
Andrew, what are you in school for?
That's a really good question. I think when I did do just kind of a general studies deal is what I'm going to end up graduating with, but my biggest emphasis was doing radio broadcasting and stuff like that, and then I'm doing a little bit of business here and there, and just some stuff I like to just try to get it done. I think it's only right you got to have a degree, and I know that this is kind of a weird story, but a few years ago, I think it was, my dad pounded on me about racing, trying to do the ARCA thing and do a test session for that, and I forgot who it was told him. I forgot the guy's name. His car, he used to own Frank Kimmel's car. He said, do you have a college degree? And I go, well, no, I'm only in high school. He goes, get a college degree and then come back and let us know.
Huh.
So if there's any advice for a lot of people out there, I understand a lot of them guys that race NASCAR don't have a college degree, but I will remember that for the rest of my life because I was the one that was, I'm not going to college ever, and he did tell me to go and get it done. So, and I can't not remember that guy's name.
Well, it is sound advice, too, because you never know when your racing career may just come to an end. You run out of sponsorship, God forbid you get hurt, your car's destroyed, and what do you have to fall back on,
Yeah, you just got your family, your friends, and then I guess just your work.
Well, buddy, we're really going to miss you. We always enjoyed sitting down with you and talking, and you better believe this isn't goodbye. This is we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, I hope that's all it is. Like I said, just taking another summer class, I knew I was definitely filled up, and I know I really think that I can get back on because this show ain't going to die. Like I said, I really want to thank everybody at Joe's Karting, Rich, Bud, Dan, you too. I mean, you guys become to be pretty close friends of mine to where we text each other all the time, and it's pretty cool. I just am so worn out, and I'm just so mad about having to do this, but I knew the time was going to come sooner or later, and I really, really am concentrating hard on my race car this year, but I hope I'll be back again.
I have 2 questions for you. One,
sure.
Are you going to be back on the show from time to time? Kind of give us an update as to what Andrew Kaziski is doing.
Of course, if you need me to, I'll do this on Wednesdays and stuff like that. I mean, it's definitely adding another day to my work, to my race car now. It's really good for me because I only got like 4 days work on the car, taking 1 day off. But I can do something like this. I'm sure I'd like to do that. If you guys ever needed a follow-up, hey, can you get me somebody? Or if you can't, can you do something? Of course, I'd love to be back on there. I love doing the show. You guys know that.
Now, being the opportunistic person that I am, Andrew, are you going to continue to play along with our NASCAR
you knew this
deal?
Was coming.
Because, I mean, I am leading points.
No,
and,
you're not.
You know,
no, you're not.
Oh, after Kenseth got...
Yeah, after Kenseth's fun, which I find, if you don't mind, we want to talk to you a few minutes about this. I find it completely ironic that, 2 weeks ago when we did the show, we sat down after the Penske fines came down and we said, okay, if you pick a driver and they get fined, do you take their fine or not? And basically, Andrew and I were kind of on the fence about it, but it was you, buddy, that said, absolutely. You pick a cheating horse, you take the penalties. And sure enough, that week you get fined and you fall out of the points lead. You've now got 271 to Andrew's 288.
Andrew,
don't even mention me.
Are you still going to play along with this?
I can still do that if you guys don't mind. I can do that.
Yeah, we'd like to keep it going because otherwise that puts me... Well, if you drop out, then I jump up to third place and then Bud's in the lead. But and that, again, that's a joke because there's 3 people. But anyways, I'm so far behind.
But we will open it to the public next year.
Yeah, we'll do that because somebody's got to beat Bud.
Yep.
We loved working with you. And like I said, it's not goodbye. We'll talk to you soon, big guy.
Again, of course. Thank you guys for having Kaziski Auto Parts on the show. And Bud, again, thank Rich for everything he's done, picking up a sponsor for me. That helped a ton, and doing this radio show. I know for a fact this show is growing, and it's only going to get bigger.
Well, we hope so, and we love doing it, and we're gonna love to have you back anytime you want to come back on. So we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Andrew Kaziski. I am gonna miss him.
Yeah, he's a special kid.
He's a kid.
Well,
it's weird because he is a kid to us.
Well, I'm almost twice his age.
You are, actually.
I mean, that's
almost
sad. Almost twice his age. And so I always call him the kid, but he's a really good kid. And, when you are 22 and you're working 40 hours a week and you're helping your dad with the ID Speedway and you're running your own race car and you got college, I mean, he's a really mature kid. He just doesn't have the age on him that a lot of 40, 50-year-olds have, and I'm not knocking him. He's got to grow into that role. And right now, I mean, he's got a lot to chew on, and it's almost smothering him. So I can understand why he'd want to sit back and take a break and focus on his racing and work and school.
Racing must go on as always. The show must go on. It will continue. Not sure what we're going to do now. We'll be back on next weekend, that's for sure. Right now, it's going to be Dan Taylor and Buddy Ray for a while. We may bring in a third person, but right now we're just going to kind of go with the flow and see how it goes. But let's talk NASCAR for just a bit, if you don't mind.
NASCAR was on?
There's a little news this week. Penske Racing lost their appeal to NASCAR.
Yeah, Brad Keselowski had mentioned that realistically he thought that's what was going to happen.
Yeah, they don't stand much of a chance to win this appeal. They had about a 4 to 5 hour meeting with the appeals board, and they ended up voting unanimously to hold up the penalties that were levied against Penske Racing. And now it moves on to the final appeal that they have, which they will take it up with Chief Appellate Officer John Middlebrook, who is the one that cleared the 48 team of any wrongdoing.
I was just getting ready to ask you if that's who that was.
Not any wrongdoing, but a majority of the wrongdoing. Now, that was a little bit different. I have my suspicions that the reason why they were freed of charges was because of the way NASCAR handled the situation when they confiscated the part. They learned that lesson, and they have done it differently with Penske, and so I don't see this being lifted at all. Also this week, we're going to see May 8th is when Joe Gibbs Racing is going to have their appeal heard. My suspicions is that they're going to try to get the penalty lifted but that they will still be guilty of what they were charged of, which was having that light connecting rod, which there's no arguing that point. It's got to be 525. It was 523. They're guilty. What they want to stop from happening is Jason Ratcliffe being suspended for 6 races.
I wonder just how much involvement the higher-ups at TRD are going to have in that hearing. That would be an interesting hearing to listen to.
I wouldn't think so at all. I wouldn't think at all.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, they're going to be there talking.
TRD ought to be up there going, hey, guys, it's our fault. Joe Gibbs didn't have nothing to do. It was our fault, our oversight. It was our quality control was at fault here, not them. Why are you punishing them?
Right.
Punish us. I
agree. Now that I realize what you're saying, I completely agree. The final appeal date for Penske Racing, now that we're jumping around, is going to be May 7th at 10 a.m. at the NASCAR Research and Development Center in Concord, North Carolina. Do you want to go down there and watch that? That'd be some interesting stuff.
Yeah, I'll talk to my boss, and we'll get rained out, and we'll just fly down. We got nothing to do.
God, that'd be nice if we could do that. So that's what's going on, what has happened so far this week and what we can expect next week in the world of NASCAR. There's a couple of teams that were fined. We didn't even get to talk about it Sunday, but there was a fist fight after the race at Nationwide outside of the owner-driver parking area. A couple of Richard Childress Racing officials got into Richard Childress Racing crew members got into a fight with Nelson Piquet Jr. They were arrested, and they have been placed on NASCAR probation. So,
you know what? Do you remember last year when NASCAR said that they were going to go a little bit more public with their fines and whatnot?
Well, they were going to stop with the secret fines. They were going to let them.
It makes me wonder, had this been 2012 NASCAR, would you have heard about the fist fight?
I think so. Because what NASCAR did was you wouldn't have heard about Denny Hamlin being fined for saying bad things about the Gen 6. It's an official report. These 2 guys from Richard Childress were arrested for battery, for a physical altercation, so that would have been a public fine. I think what has changed is that Denny Hamlin's fine would not have been made public. He would have been fined.
It just seems like we see a lot more. We're hearing of a lot more fines this year.
Yeah.
Because of the secret fine deal being lifted.
Yeah, because that got lifted after 2011. Turn 2 just around the corner. We are going to talk about Eldora. We finally got a truck format for that race. We're going to talk about that. We finally got some time. We're also going to talk there wasn't much dirt track going on this weekend.
No.
So, unfortunately, this is going to be a lot of NASCAR talk this weekend. Hopefully, next weekend, when we're live, we can talk about some results from around the area, some local racing, so we'll talk about that. But Turn 2, just around the corner, and we're also going to talk to Wade Cross in Turn 3. Turn 4, we're going to preview Talladega coming up in just a few hours, Bud, where you're going to be racing at this coming Friday and Saturday. We'll get an update on the Pick'ems contest. We just talked with Andrew a little bit about it, but we'll break it down even further. And there's a NASCAR driver that's making his 700th start today. We'll talk about that. It's all coming up on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
In 1999, Wade Cross decided he was tired of overpaying for shocks, so he created FX Shocks. Now FX suspension customers reach across the United States with countless wins and championships, including national champion in 3 major IMCA classes, plus Super Nationals champions in all 4 of the Saturday night's main events. Get your FX Shocks today. One-on-one consultation is waiting for you at 308-383-9609. 308-383.
This is Andrew from Kaziski Auto Parts. Kaziski Auto Parts is an insurance-quality used parts supplier that can match your foreign or domestic car or truck needs. If you have a damaged or broke-down car or truck, we guarantee a clean and quality part in next-day fashion. Kaziski Auto Parts, your neighborhood premium recycled parts supplier. Call any Kaziski Auto Parts salesman today by dialing 402-731-4592 or visit us at 5040 I Street in Omaha. Kaziski Auto Parts, our quality used parts will match your car or truck's needs.
Are you ready for fast-paced, adrenaline-pumping, wheel-to-wheel racing right here in the Metro? Get to Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs and see what it's like to race real go-karts. Joe's Karting knows it's no fun to race go-karts at 10 miles per hour, so they ripped the governors out, and now the only restriction is how good you are at racing. It's full-throttle, white-knuckle racing every day of the week. Head over to joeskarting.com for hours, prices, and specials, or give Buddy a call today and set up your group races at 712-256-5278.
We're working the high line into Turn 2 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting. Online at joeskarting.com.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Turn 2, presented by Kaziski Auto Parts, 51st and I Street in Omaha. Get your used car back on the road in great working order. I got to give them a call. Actually, hopefully they can find me a bumper for a 2013 or 2011 Ranger.
True story.
Oh boy!
I went in there with my stepson. He needed a wheel for his PT Cruiser. The dealership wanted $60 for a rim.
$60?
$60. We went down to Kaziski Auto Parts.
Yeah.
$50 made me holla.
Wow.
We got a rim for $50, $10 cheaper than the dealership.
In my world, I'm putting that together. That is 2 orders of Boom Boom Shrimp at Quaker Steak and Lube.
2 orders of yeah. So look, I mean, what better night or what better way to,
So what you're telling me is you're going to go and buy me some Boom Boom Shrimp this afternoon.
No.
Okay.
Well, my wallet would go boom, boom, boom.
We've, all the coverage going on in NASCAR with Matt Kenseth's engine being that 2.7 grams off for that one connecting rod. We sat down last week with Dan Nickel of Carl Performance and talked to him about what exactly that would do for the engine. And here's what Dan had to say.
The balancing on the engines, it's kind of amazing that it was 3 grams off. But at the same time, 3 grams is really not a lot. What they'll do a lot of times is shuffle maybe a heavier piston with that lighter rod and make those things the same. So the fact that the rule was 525 and it was under is a little surprising. But as far as the balance goes, it really won't do anything to the balance per se. Those motors are more sensitive the higher the RPM goes. So when you're dealing with 9,500 plus RPMs, that is a lot more critical. But 3 grams, with 2 rods on each side of the journal there, the way that's balanced, it shouldn't have much of effect, gain or loss. And if anything, you would say that it would hurt the performance of the motor more than anything.
Very interesting that but we ended up finding out and seeing that it didn't hurt the performance of the engine. I think after everything is all said and done, everyone can generally agree it didn't help. It didn't hurt because he didn't blow an engine. He obviously won the race and had dominant car.
Here's what I find interesting. You actually Gmailed me that somebody had said it would initially help the motor.
Andy Petrie.
Okay.
Of NASCAR, obviously a crew chief and somebody who's been in the NASCAR world for a long time.
You and I were squabbling about this, and Andy Petrie said it would in fact help, but then later on he recanted, changed his mind.
I heard him. The night that it came out, I heard him on NASCAR Now on ESPN. He did a phone call in with SportsCenter and initially said the lighter weight would help with the takeoff. And you and I both agree. Listen, if you can get your nose out there in clean air at Kansas, you're going to lead a ton of laps because clean air is king at Kansas. And I'm not saying that as if they did this on purpose to where they would give him an extra horsepower or 2. From what I understand in the back end of it, there was no extra horsepower. It didn't give them extra torque. It didn't do anything for him. It was just 2.7 grams lighter. And then I heard him the next day doing an interview on a radio show, and he said the complete opposite. So I think he sat down and really kind of looked into it and went, okay, 2.7 grams, that's not a lot of weight.
No.
When you're talking about what does a regular engine weigh? You're talking...
it varies.
Give me something. Like 700, 800 pounds?
Nah, 550 maybe.
Okay, so 550 pounds, and you're talking 2.7 grams. We want to say thanks to Dan Nickel of Carl Performance. He sat down with us last week, had a great conversation. Unfortunately, we only use a little portion of it because we've only got so much time. Head over to carlperformance.com. That's Carl with a K. They've got some great information over there, great engines for race cars and local races. We have a lot of dirt track races that listen to this show, so if you're in need of a new engine, a repair, advice, those are the guys that talk to them. I don't, not off the top of my head. carlperformance.com. Carl with the K is where you can go to get all the information. And again, we say thanks to Dan Nichols for taking the time. Also in Turn 2, we got some little news and notes for NASCAR. I've got some interesting little nuggets here. Stewart-Haas Racing has officially applied for copyright trademark of the number 4 car.
Of the 4 or the 14?
The 4. Well, obviously they've already got the rights to the 14. But they've applied for copyright laws, the copyright protection for the number 4 car. for 2014.
Who would drive the number 4 car?
Who's moving over to Stewart-Haas Racing in 2014?
Oh, Harvick.
Kevin Harvick. Now, it's also been rumored that they're in negotiations with Richard Childress Racing that Kevin would keep the 29. And I wanted to ask you, would you rather go with a new number, or are you pretty well keen to sticking with the 25?
I'm pretty keen to sticking to the 25. And that's actually a good question, Dan. One of the number one things I hear a lot of every year is, how did you come up with the number 25?
Yeah.
Couple things here. One, the 25 holiday horsepower drive all over my car. We're racing for our charity. The holiday horsepower drive, it's a Christmas charity, hence 25.
Okay.
The other reason why we have the 25, Mike Sfagera, who now lives in California, he did some sheet metal work back in, I believe, 2009. We did some horse trading engine for sheet metal work. Also, Andrew Kaziski, the number 2X car at this time in the late models. Andrew Kaziski donated $5,200 to the holiday horsepower drive, which basically went to the hospital. Well, Mike Sfagera and Andrew Kaziski were teammates, so they're like, well, bud, number 25, 25th of December, Children's Hospital, Christmas, Mike Sfagera, Andrew, the 25. It all worked out really, really well because Mike Sfagera's car number is 5, Andrew was 2. I'm the 25.
I really wonder. I mean, there is definitely a clear path to Kevin keeping the 29 because there's nothing that keeps Richard Childress from holding on to it. It's not like he's got a shortage of numbers. He's got the 33, the 31, the 27,
the 43.
The 3, not the 43.
Oh, I thought
Richard Childress, not Richard Petty.
Okay, my bad.
And by the way, when Kevin leaves in 2014, it's becoming apparent that Austin Dillon's going to move up into the Cup Series full-time and race the 3, which I strongly disagree with, but that's a conversation for another show. We'll cover that subject later on about if the 3 should be raced or should be retired. But anyways, I digress. So the 29 is not a big memorable number for Richard Childress. The 3 is what he originally ran when he was driving, and that's the reason why Austin Dillon wants to run it. But just some interesting information there. Also, numbers so far, 9 races in to the 9 races in to the Gen 6 car. Get this. There has been 1,203 more green flag passes this year than 9 races into last year, the Gen 5.
Really?
Yes. The margin of victory is a little over a half a second as compared to last year's margin of victory of 1.7 seconds. There has been 49.9% of the cars have finished on the lead lap. 49.9%, just a slight less than half, this year have finished on the lead lap. Last year, it was 38.2%. And there is also up 3% to 83.2% of the cars are running at the finish of the race. So that goes, I mean, the numbers so far are showing that the Gen 6 is far more competitive than the Gen 5. And
we're 9 races in, but we have a total of how many races, period? How many races in this year's Cup schedule?
36.
36.
36 races.
We're only a fourth of the way into it.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying that compared to the Gen 5 last year, 9 races in, to the Gen 6 this year, 9 races in. Same tracks.
I'll have a bigger opinion when we're 18 races in.
I think you're going to have a really good opinion of 18 races. It's so far everything's showing, and they've made some changes to the car for Talladega today. One interesting change, and I am fascinated by this, but I'm kind of a geek too. They got rid of the hockey puck camera on the top of the car for the speedways and the super speedways because they found out in the wind tunnel testing that hockey puck, which was the camera for all the broadcasts, was helping the leader but hurting everyone else at the speedways and the super speedways. That's why you're seeing the in-car gyro camera more.
Speaking of which, how do you like that gyro camera?
Freaking love it. I think it's awesome.
I love it too.
I love it all.
I'm sitting in my chair drinking my beer at home, and my head's tilting like.
Which, by the way, and we're talking about the broadcast, and we're talking about Fox, and dear God, I hope somebody from Fox is listening. You guys got to be smarter when going to break. I was watching Martinsville. I think I texted you about it. I know I posted on the Facebook page about it. Of the 7 lead changes under green flag at Martinsville, we saw 1. The other 6 were away at break. This is racing. This isn't...
People want to see the starts.
Okay, what I'm getting at is that in football, there's a surprise play. In basketball, there's a surprise play. In in baseball, there's a surprise home run. But you're not going to be cutting away because you're in the middle of the action. In NASCAR, I was so infuriated at this week watching the race last Saturday night at Richmond when I can't remember who the second place was. They were chasing down Matt Kenseth, and they were coming by 0.2 of a second a lap. And they got up onto the back bumper, and I swear to you, this is what Mike Joyce said. And I think it was Casey Kane. We'll just say it's Casey Kane. And here comes Casey Kane up on the back of the number 20 Matt Kenseth car. We'll be right back on NASCAR on Fox.
Are you freaking kidding me?
They went to 8 commercials, which just floored me, and came back, and lo and behold, Casey Kane was leading the race. And again, I can't remember if it was exactly Casey Kane, but that's what, and I remember I wanted to throw something, and I went on to the Facebook page and I said, we've got ourselves a lead change, so-and-so's in the lead, and wouldn't you know, we missed it.
That would be like watching the Super Bowl, 10 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Here comes the Buffalo Bills, coming up to the 5-yard line. It's a tied ball game. Well, he's made it to the 3-yard line, and it's time for a break.
Let's go to a commercial. I couldn't believe, and I understand it's difficult at times, but honestly, at Martinsville this year, 6 out of the 7 lead changes under green flag we didn't even see, and it just infuriates me. Cut out of commercial. Okay, and so Fox I love Fox. I think they do a great job with the broadcasts, but this is just getting a little bit out of control.
Well, I understand your frustration with Fox, but also NASCAR. Come on, get a grip. Start watching what Fox is doing to your product.
You wonder if they can say something because they're cashing Fox's rights checks all the way to the bank and maybe just saying, we'll be okay. And, Fox has got to get theirs. They've got to get their commercials in. I understand that. I'm a salesman. It infuriates me when my commercials on radio get interrupted because that's lost revenue for me and for the radio station. But for Pete's sakes, ESPN does it right. You watched it all the time last year during the chase. When there was action on the track, they would cut away from the commercial break and then reload that commercial back into the segment when it was safe to go back to commercial.
I can't remember who did it, but where they have like the live action,
the side-by-side.
The side-by-side. Do that.
Fox does that for Daytona. They started to do it at the end of the race last week at Richmond, the last 2 or 3 commercial breaks. But still, you can tell when there's a lead change. You go to a track like
Richmond or Bristol? Come on.
It's not like, okay, today at Talladega, there's going to be 85 lead changes. I don't need to see every one of them. I'll give you a pass there. But it's freaking Richmond. You can tell when they're coming, especially when you've got the lap times. I'm sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now, but I was just so infuriated with them. Turn 3 just around the corner. We're going to talk with Wade Cross from FX Suspensions. A lot of people, when I pose the question to them, what is the most important thing on a race car, they say suspension, especially in dirt. Agree? Disagree?
Absolutely. Shocks.
Be tuned in as we're going to talk with Wade Cross of FX Suspensions right around the corner. It's the Front Stretch presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
For 50 years, Eagle Raceway has been pushing the limits of dirt track racing. Saturday nights, come see the Midwest Best Battle at the fastest third-mile track. Gates open at 5:30 for IMCA Modifieds, Sport Compacts, Hobby Stocks, Sport Mods, and Race Saver Sprint Cars. Eagle kicks their season off on April 19th with the Icebreaker Challenge, featuring the debut of the Race Saver Sprint Cars. Located just 10 minutes east of Lincoln on Highway 34 and online at eagleraceway.com.
If you love rings and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the Front Stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Are you ready for fast-paced, adrenaline-pumping, wheel-to-wheel racing right here in the Metro? Get to Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs and see what it's like to race real go-karts. Joe's Karting knows it's no fun to race go-karts at 10 miles per hour, so they ripped the governors out, and now the only restriction is how good you are at racing. It's full-throttle, white-knuckle racing every day of the week. Head over to joeskarting.com for hours, prices, and specials, or give Buddy a call today and set up your group races at 712-256-5278.
Time to grab another tear-off and make your move. We're headed into Turn 3 on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting.
Welcome back to the Front Stretch. This is Turn 3, where we sit down and talk with somebody involved in the racing world, and we're talking with Wade Cross of FX Suspension. Wade, thanks so much for sitting down with us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Wade, how you doing so far? How's your season been?
Oh, it's I've been so dang far behind that I'm glad we've had the weather we've had. I hate to say that, but it's kept it's actually got the business a little, helped me catch up with a few things, and not too bad, but I'm sure it's going to be clicking up here real fast, and I'm going to be just buried as can be, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Let's talk about that business a little bit. Owner of FX Suspensions, guy like me doesn't know much about a shock. Can you talk about the history of FX Suspensions, how it came about, and how it has grown to what it is today?
Well, I've been racing forever, it seems like it, and back in '99, I wanted to, I was running a modified at the time. It was like one of my first years, and I wasn't happy with what I was doing for shocks, and I couldn't get people that really wanted to work with me or even know what was really going on with them. So I just decided to start feeling into them myself, and I thought, well, heck, maybe I could do this thing. And I met up with a few good people, Bill Hindorf from Bill Steen and Rex Merritt from, at the time was Dirt Works, and Dwayne Ragland from Hypercoil. And we started talking, and it was like, well, we need to maybe think about doing something like this. Let me branch out and do some more of the more of the really custom stuff, and because at the time there was really nobody doing it. There was maybe 3 guys in the whole nation that could actually do break into a Bilstein and actually do it the way you're supposed to do it, and that's what I mostly work on is the Bilstein stuff. That's kind of my bread and butter, and that's kind of what we strive for ever since then, and just kind of making stuff better and making it better. And the guys that there at Bilstein, they weren't sure they wanted to do this at first, and they basically said, well, if you can figure out how to get the gas in this thing and you can figure out some of this stuff, we'll take it from there. And it's kind of been history ever since then. It's basically doubled itself ever since then, every year, and I couldn't be happier.
Wade, can you expand on the list of drivers or some of the bigger name drivers that you've had on your shocks?
Oh man, I'm not much on name dropping. I never thought that really sold shocks, but unfortunately it does. I've done stuff for, David Murray, all the white boys down in Texas, Jordan Grabowski, stock car guys, just a list of them. It'd be, Mikey Nichols and I could just go on forever. I got guys at the local level. I got guys at the national level. Man, kind of got me on the spot. Just for instance, today, I sent shocks to Pittsburgh, to Quebec, Canada, a kid down in New Mexico, and then a mess of them in Kansas and Iowa. That's just one day. It's quite a business. I got great guys, champions at every level. I couldn't be happier. Guys always change, and they're always doing their thing. They'll stick with you for a while, and they'll go somewhere else. But I tell you, they all come back. And that's what's been so nice about my deal. And I got a lot of good loyal guys. And I tell you, I wish I could pull up a screen of 500 of them and just read them all off to you, because they all deserve a lot of credit. That's kind of the beauty of this deal, is I have so many people on shocks and different stuff, and there's nothing cookie cutter about what we do. Everybody's on a custom basis. Everybody gets treated their own is their own separate deal. I don't like to say, well, this is what this guy does, this is what that guy does, because I'm telling you, I know better to tell you that what works for you is not going to always work for this guy. So everybody's individual, everybody's one-on-one, and I try to take as much time as I can with everybody to get them happy. And that's the best part about that deal is, on Monday during race season, my phone never quits ringing. And today, it just stopped about 5 minutes ago. It'll ring all day Monday and all day Tuesday and usually half of Wednesday. And by then, I'm so dang busy with trying to get stuff turned around for the next weekend. I never know what I'm doing, but everybody's different, like I said, and I learn from all my guys, and we just pass it on down the line. It's just really a big family. Everybody wants a secret and wants a trade secret of something, if that's the way to word it or not. Well, kept in confidentiality and all that stuff, but yes, I believe in that to a point, but nobody's going to learn anything unless we can thread some information around.
Talking with Wade Cross of FX Suspensions here on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting. Without giving away any trade secrets, what sets FX Suspensions apart from other shock manufacturers?
Well, I'm not going to toot my own horn. I'm not big on that, but I'm telling you, I drive, and I'm good at it. I win my share, and it makes it a lot easier for me to talk to guys. We've raced for many years, and we've won. We win, and that's just from my standpoint. I don't believe in old school. I keep things as fresh and as possible. I keep my ideas and thoughts always open because things change, things evolve. Technology is always constantly moving, and I'm never ever content. I don't ever stop. My dyno never quits running. When the season's over with, I am developing again. That's what I do, and that's as far as the drive part of it goes. I think that really sets us apart. I feel like we absolutely know what we're talking about. We've been doing this stuff for many, many years, a lot longer than a lot of the guys are. We are just, our approach is different. We don't make it to every racetrack and try to sling mud about other people's stuff, and we don't need to do that. Our stuff, I think, speaks for itself. And I'm never going to get tired of it, and I'm never going to take a break because I love what I do. I really believe in what I'm doing, and I'm going to keep working just as hard as the racers are. And that's probably the biggest thing is just the strive and the will to make stuff better all the time. If a guy wants to get into the physical things, there's a lot of things we do that other guys don't do. I have just for instance my oil that I use in all my shocks. It's priority for me. That was a 2-year deal in the making. A lot of hours spent developing my own shock oil, and now I have a place down in Florida who builds it commercially for me. It's mine. It's got my name on it, and and no one else can get it. And that's just part of it. And then into a lot of the hands-on custom piston work that I do. We just don't grab a piece and throw it in. I spend time hand drilling, hand fabricating a lot of my stuff. There's just nothing generic about what we do. It's a lot of work, a lot of thought, and just a lot of great help from other racers, keeping me posted of what's going on. That's the one thing I do very well is relate to racers because I am a racer. I have been my whole life, and I know what they're talking about. That's probably the best way to put it.
So when they come to you with this weird jargon of what their car's doing, you've got an easier way of translating that into making the shock better.
Exactly, and then you're really on to something there because I'm telling you, a guy from Knoxville, Tennessee, whose English is completely different than, let's say, a guy from Minot, North Dakota. They do not speak the same language, yet they have, and I have to determine what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
What they call something is not what another guy calls something, and that's just an example. And the way they feel things is differently, because they're just, they're in that part of the world. They all have different terminology and technology, but luckily, we're on a dirt track with 4 tires and wheels, and it helps. It definitely helps to know what they're all talking about.
Owner of FX Suspensions on the phone with us, Wade Cross. Wade, what is the best way for people to get a hold of you and get some information about your company?
You can just call me anytime. You can go on fxsuspension.com, get any of my contact information there. I'm in the works of putting together a cool Facebook page. Something I should have been doing a long time ago. I don't know how I missed the boat on that. I suppose it's 60 hours a week in the shock room probably, but I need to get the Facebook page going, and we're actually updating the FX Suspension True website here real soon. And you can get hold of me on there. All my contact information there. My cell phone's on there. Call me anytime. I don't care what time of day, night. If I'm not at a racetrack, I'm somewhere where I can get you the information you need.
Awesome. We appreciate your time, Wade, and have a great night and have a great season.
Thank you, guys. I love your show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Wade Cross of FX Suspensions. You can get them online. fxsuspensions.com is their website to head over to. Get some information for them.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's some of the best shocks I've ever used, if not the best. He's helped me this year, and my car has done stuff I didn't even know it was capable of. That, or maybe I just grew a pair and learned how to drive this winter.
Well, that's probably the most unrealistic thing. But anyways, I digress.
Wow.
Let's move on. Turn 4 just around the corner. We're going to preview Dega, talk about where Bud's going to be this weekend, the Pick'em contest, and who's making start number 7 Hyundai. It all is all coming up on the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
This week's Legend of Tomorrow is Ari Scouten. Dirt runs in Ari's blood, with his cousin, grandfather, and great-grandfather all being drivers, car owners, or pit crew members. Ari's great-grandfather Les Vaughn was inducted into the Nebraska Racing Hall of Fame. Ari knew he had big shoes to fill when he first sat down in a dirt cart when he was 8. 6 years later, and plenty of wins under his belt, Ari has made his move to IMCA Northern Sport Mods. When he isn't turning laps on the track, he's on the greens, working on his golf swing, keeping up on his black belt in karate, and staying in tune for show choir. Ari has plans on getting a degree in mechanical engineering so he can someday design solar-powered cars. Ari is getting his engineering practice in now by teaming with his father to build his sports mod from the ground up in their shop, Hog House Motorsports. Make sure and keep your eye out for Ari Scouten in the 99 RE. He's this week's Legend of Tomorrow on the front stretch.
The Silver Dollar Nationals are returning to I-80 Speedway on July 18th, 19th, and 20th. Don't miss the nation's top USMTS, MLRA, and Lucas Oil dirt late model racers as they compete at Nebraska's fastest track. Come watch the nation's best dirt track racers compete for a $27,000 to win payout. Ticket prices and packages at 402-342-3453. The 3rd annual Silver Dollar Nationals at I-80 Speedway, July 18th, 19th, and 20th.
Are you ready for fast-paced, adrenaline-pumping, wheel-to-wheel racing right here in the Metro? Get to Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs and see what it's like to race real go-karts. Joe's Karting knows it's no fun to race go-karts at 10 miles per hour, so they ripped the governors out, and now the only restriction is how good you are at racing. It's full-throttle, white-knuckle racing every day of the week. Head over to joeskarting.com for hours, prices, and specials, or give Buddy a call today and set up your group races at 712-256-5278.
Get ready for the victory lap as we make our way into Turn 4 on the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Online at joeskarting.com.
White flag's in the air. One more turn left to go before we take our checkered flag, and the green flag will be in the air shortly for Talladega Super Speedway. A little bit of mixed emotions for Talladega. I am not a restrictor plate fan at all.
I love this. These are some of my favorite races.
How?
Daytona and Talladega.
You hated Daytona this year. It was single file for 180 laps.
It was. And I'll admit, yes, I hated Daytona. Normally, I like the big super speedways because you see the pack racing, and you never know that element of surprise when the big one's going to happen.
Right. That's the mass appeal for Daytona and Talladega. The problem is it costs so much money to put these cars on the tracks. To be honest with you guys, I would put 60% down, 70% down that the big one won't happen until the last 15 laps.
Honestly, and I thought about this because we were squabbling about this after the 500, Dan. For years and years and years, the little tracks, I'm not much of a mile and a half kind of guy. I like the half-mile tracks, your Richmond, your Bristol, stuff like that, your Martinsvilles. But when Dale Sr., rest his soul, when he won the Daytona 500 and he came and won that in the last 6 laps from like 20-something on, boom.
I think you're thinking of a different. I think you're combining 2 different races.
There was one race where he came from way in the back.
That was Talladega. He went from 22nd
No,
to
this is Daytona
first.
because maybe he took second at Daytona. But he came from way in the back and he took second or something like that. It was a Daytona race. And I was like, wow.
Because he won the Daytona race under caution.
Yeah.
That was back in the days when the caution would fly, you'd lock the field, and if they didn't get back to green because the laps would keep counting down, they didn't get back to green, then you took the...
But anyways, what I was saying, there was one race where Dale came out of nowhere, and he was just putting on a show in the last 6-7 laps. I'm like, if Dale can do this, just about anybody can do this because he's using that draft. He's following the air. And so over the course of the years, I've been following, when the big super speedways, when the cars get all strung out single file, it is boring. It's not fun to watch. Even you've told me you'll take a nap in your chair and wake up for the last 20 laps.
Daytona was bad this year.
When I see 2 or 3 wide, all pack racing, you got 30 cars bunched up, you're just sitting there because you're watching them slice and dice and whatnot. I'm like, oh, this is fun because there's action going on. There's action.
This is the difference between Daytona Nationwide and Daytona Cup. Daytona Nationwide, I was, it sounds like a cliche, I was on the edge of my couch for the entire freaking race. I was just sitting there. I was biting my nails because they are 3-4 wide, not coming out of turn 2.
Nationwide is like that every race, though.
They're knocking each other. I mean, it is every single lap. It is fantastic racing. But you get up into the Cup, and I think the major cause of this is it's so expensive to wreck these cars. I mean, look at Tony last year at Talladega, end of the season. He goes for the win and blocks Michael Waltrip. Oh, wait, there's that word that we don't ever do in NASCAR. Anyways, and he ends up wrecking 27 cars, and
He's
we
on his
calculated
lid.
it up. He cost teams a total of about $45 million. After everything was all said and done, exactly, oops. He makes one move, and he is a half a second too late. And he costs all these teams a good finish, money in their cars because they're just completely destroyed. I think you're going to see a lot of calm down because it's early in the race. We don't need to do this again. And that is just simply a product of, it's simply a product of the drivers being safe and taking care of their equipment because there's no sense in wrecking on lap 5. You wreck on lap 5 at a place like, we'll take Richmond. But you go into the garage and you go 10 laps down, you're able to get the car up to speed, you're still going to get yourself an okay finish. Maybe a outside the top 25, maybe a 25th to 30th finish, which when you're points racing, not bad. Talladega, you wreck on lap 5, you're sitting in your hauler watching the rest of the race and you're finishing 43rd. I mean, we saw it with Jimmy Johnson at Daytona 2011. And when Jimmy Johnson left Daytona 2012, he had 2 points, then he got fined and obviously went negative 23 and then the appeal, but whatever. When Kevin Harvick left Daytona this year, he had 2 points. So this is a race where you really have to be smart and you can't get yourself into a situation where they're beating and banging like that. And especially we talked about it after Daytona this year when those fans got hurt. Everyone kind of went, in the Nationwide race, everyone went, whoa. Let's just back it up a little bit because it reminded everybody that drivers are mortal. We can lose lives. And fans, by the way, are very mortal. Pick'ems contest.
Do we have to choose today?
I know. That's what I'm saying. I hate this. I absolutely hate this.
Well, I can't remember who all because you can only pick the same driver twice in the year.
Right.
And so I can't remember who all I've picked so far.
You've picked a lot of really good drivers. And by the way, I'm going to let you have your moment because I've got a feeling I'm going to get close to you at the end of the season during the chase because you're going to be forced to take some less than desirable guys. The 20th through 10th guys as opposed to being able to pick the Jimmies, the Dales, the Joey Logano's.
Have I picked Edwards?
No, you have not picked Carl Edwards.
I'll take Carl Edwards.
Okay. You got Carl Edwards in. I'm taking Keselowski.
That was not a bad pick because I was thinking about that, but I think I've taken him once already.
You have, but it was a while ago. You could have taken him again. I get to pick first.
But then I couldn't use Keselowski in the chase.
Right, he'd be out of your options, which I don't know. I really wrestled with this thing with Keselowski, okay? He has got the golden horseshoe. There's no doubt about that. I mean, last week at Richmond was the first time that he wasn't able to use pit strategy for Paul Wolfe and get himself back on the lead lap and get himself a good finish. Look at Kansas. He was a lap down, and he didn't have a good car at all. All of a sudden, he comes back and finishes 9th. Richmond, on the other hand, was a different story. He got black flagged by NASCAR, and I didn't catch why he was running under speed, but they ended up black flagging him because of speed.
The one person
he was under speed, minimum speeds. Keselowski has the ability to just have good finishes. I think he's going to be my horse to run today as far as getting through and keeping his nose clean.
The one person I don't think anybody should ever want to take on the super speedways, Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson, exactly. Even though he had himself a good finish at Daytona this year, I think he had a top 10 finish. I'll have to check my records, but first time he finished a super speedway race in the last 6, I believe. 5 out of the last
Something like
6.
that, yeah.
5 out of the last 6 before this year he had wrecked at the super speedways. So it's going to be very interesting, and we'll have to get back with Andrew. We didn't get his pick. The thing is, though, Andrew...
Hey, does this mean for the first time I've picked a track where I didn't pick the previous year's winner?
Actually, that was the first time this year you didn't pick last year's winner. So pissed. Freaking Logano. Let me say that again because I can't say pissed on the air. I was so irritated with you because, 2 weeks in a row, I took Carl Edwards at Kansas. I figured hometown boy, he's going to do great. And I thought, maybe I should take Kansas. But I'm taking the 99 because I want to save Kenseth. Okay, here's my strategy. I want to save Kenseth. Before the fines, obviously. Freaking Carl finishes like 19th. Matt goes on to win the race, and you even said to me that day in recording, you said, I want to take 90. I want to take the 99. I said, nope, I'm taking him because I get to pick first. And I was like, and then all of a sudden he went. Okay, now let's fast forward to Richmond. I took the 11. I took Brian Vickers. I thought, I'm taking Vickers. This is good strategy, by the way. I'm taking Vickers because he's going to be out of the car.
I think I even mentioned about taking...
Exact same thing. You texted me on Saturday before I had a chance to text you, and you said, I want the 11 car. And I said, nope, I'm taking the 11. Sure enough, he finishes 33rd. And you take Logano, who finishes 3rd. I hate you.
Yeah, but hindsight's 2020. Had you taken Kenseth at Kansas,
it killed me.
You would have been like 200 points behind everybody.
But that absolutely killed me. But right now in the point standings, Andrew is still the leader, 288 points. Buddy, you're rolling up in second, 271. It's the point fine that got you. Losing those 50 points just absolutely killed you. And then I'm sitting in third place, 215 points. I'm 56 points behind you. I'm not far. I could. I mean, that's.
Andrew and I could sit out one whole race, and you could still be.
You know
losing.
what? You could be sitting out today. Let's say Carl wrecks on lap 1. All of a sudden, I'm within 9 points. I've got a possibility of being within 9 points. We could see that big of a swing today. If Brad.
You're how many points behind me? 56?
56.
How many points?
48.
48.
So I could be 8 points close to you.
I would get at least 1 point.
You're correct. So 9 points.
Okay, yeah.
So I'd be within 9 points of you. So that's the thing with Talladega and Daytona, the super speedways. It is just such a crapshoot.
And I guarantee the first time you beat me, I will never hear the end of it.
700 starts as of today. Take a wild guess. Who do you think it is?
I was thinking Mark Martin.
I don't know how many starts Mark Martin has, but it's not his 700th today.
Jeff Gordon?
No, not Gordon.
Who else out there is old enough to have that many starts?
I'll give you a hint, but you know what? It's not going to help you any. He was racing in the top 10 last weekend at Richmond at one point in time and had himself a good finish, by the way.
Wow.
You want me to give it to you?
Yeah.
Bobby Labonte. Making 700 starts today.
Wow. You see, I still think of Bobby Labonte as one of the younger guys, not one of the older guys.
Yeah. He is kind of one of the younger guys. Well,
doesn't he have a former he's a former champion.
Yes. He raced at Joe Gibbs Racing, won himself the championship in 99 or 2000.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
The last time the 18 won the championship was with
Interstate
Bobby
Batteries.
Labonte. Yep. And that was just before Denny Hamlin moved up, Kyle Busch moved up. So that was before the big change, and Tony really kind of took over that area. So
hey, just out of curiosity, for Talladega today, what do you think Eric Amarola's? I'm really starting to kind of I like following him a little bit.
Yeah, it's the Cinderella story right there. It is the same story as Trevor Bayne winning the Daytona 500. It's the Dale Earnhardt story. Well, I want to compare it to Dale winning the Daytona 500, but it's a great story with that organization finally getting their stuff together.
We ought to try to call their people and see if we can get them on the show. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that'd be a lot. We'll try to do that. Give Richard Petty Motorsports a little bit of a buzz and see if we don't have any pull down in the Concord, North Carolina area. What do you got going on this coming weekend? Where are you racing? Friday night?
Where I'd like to be racing?
Yeah, if the weather cooperates, where are you racing Friday night?
Crawford County Speedway, Denison, Iowa.
I'm so excited. And I just can't hide it. I'm so ready to get back to announcing.
And I just can't wait.
I got a feeling it says I'm going to be very rusty on Friday night, and I'm going to be very mad after the race.
Speaking of which, Crawford County, you told me that you gotten an email. Now, I'm not saying that this is what's going to show up, but how many names did you tell me that was on that pre-registered list for 2013?
250.
250 drivers.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, if this all comes together, man, what a spectacular.
Obviously we're a little partial to Crawford County because I work there. I'm employed. They gave me my first opportunity in calling races, and they've been very, very good to me throughout the last year. But it's really good to see that track doing so well for itself. No one expected it, and I mean no one expected it to be a profitable track in year one. That's just not a realistic goal. They were profitable, and they've been able to take that money and put it back into the track, and it's just going to be even better.
Well,
this year.
They got an outstanding late model points fund for the late models this year. That's IMCA registered, so they got the John Deere Championship Series with Alta Speedway going on. You got the racers up in Sioux City. You got some big names coming there too. Big names. They've
got some new track equipment to help with track prep. They got me some new equipment up in the box. We also hired another announcer so that
he's going to be in the pits.
In the pits doing so. It's great to see Crawford County thriving again, and that community really pulls together and supports that. I think they had an average car count last year of 109. It's the first year back.
That's spectacular.
Since like 6-7 years, right?
12
years.
12 years of weekly racing.
109 average car count, and the seats were full a week in and week out, and it was just fantastic. Despite the heat and the racing on the track, you guys did a great job with putting on some great performances.
And then Saturday night, Eagle Raceway.
Saturday night going to be Eagle Raceway. Wish we could have been there last night for the USAC race with Brady Bacon. But
we watched raindrops race down the sky.
Exactly. Took the night off, and we're getting rested and relaxing for a very busy 2013, which we're going to be busy this year. You got several races you're going at, and I'm expanding my dirt track world, which I just do love. Next Sunday, we are live and cheery. Back in the ESPN studios, we're going to be live breaking down everything that happened today at Talladega and then Darlington for the Southern 500. That's going to be a fantastic race.
I love saying the word Darlington.
Yeah, it rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? We'll be at we'll be breaking down everything that happened Saturday night at Darlington. Plus, we'll talk about what happened later this week with the final appeals process for Penske Racing, trying to get their appeals lifted and back to working order. That's going to be a big blow for those guys because they're losing crew chiefs, they're losing car chiefs, they're losing directors of comp. I mean, they're losing a lot of crucial people inside that organization for 6 to 7 weeks while these penalties are fulfilled. We'll also talk about Joe Gibbs Racing's appeal. We all feel like they're going to lose their appeal. Maybe they will go to the final appeals process, taking it to the appellate judge, John Middlebrook, excuse me. I forgot his name there for a second. So a lot to talk about next Sunday while we are live. Get down to Quaker Steak and Lube later today, as that will be the official watering hole of the front stretch. You may just catch Bud and I down there getting a beer, getting some hot wings and some boom boom shrimp, and watching the Aaron's $4.99 at Talladega. We thank you for joining us, and as always, have yourself a great Sunday. We'll talk to you next week. It's been the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
In 1999, Wade Cross decided he was tired of overpaying for shocks, so he created FX Shocks. Now FX suspension customers reach across the United States with countless wins and championships, including national champion in 3 major IMCA classes, plus Super Nationals champions in all 4 of the Saturday night's main events. Get your FX Shocks today. One-on-one consultation is waiting for you at 308-383-9609. 308-383.
Are you ready for fast-paced, adrenaline-pumping, wheel-to-wheel racing right here in the Metro? Get to Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs and see what it's like to race real go-karts. Joe's Karting knows it's no fun to race go-karts at 10 miles per hour, so they ripped the governors out, and now the only restriction is how good you are at racing. It's full-throttle, white-knuckle racing every day of the week. Head over to joeskarting.com for hours, prices, and specials, or give Buddy a call today and set up your group races at 712-256-5278.